closer. Oh damn it, lost my frenzy charges. Fusing. Hello everybody. Today I wanted to talk about a character that I wanted to play for quite some time, and that is a Wander. And the problem with a Wander is that you usually cannot play this as a low budget character, because Wanders are pretty damn expensive. Physical Wanders are, because of their extreme gear requirement and because you need a lot of passive points to make it work, which is why I decided to go for an elemental Wander. And the version I chose uses for AoE, at the moment at least, Power Siphon with weapon elemental damage, LMP, added cold, and for survivability, life gain on hit. And as you can see, this is a very low budget variant. Usually you have Wanders with at least a 6-link, and also usually you have something like LMP chain or even GMP and chain. And what are you doing here? And that's the little trick I'm doing to make this low budget viable. I completely skipped the chain aspect, and thus gaining a lot, or keeping a lot of damage that I would otherwise have to get through insane gear, and I can still hit a lot of targets if I choose another curse. I'm not using Elemental Weakness, which is the recommended curse for Elemental Wanders, or even Critical Weakness, because my base critical hit chance is already pretty high. I'm at 23% without power charges, and I'm using 7 power charges, so I'm at roughly 50% when I'm fully charged. And I'm not even having gear with crit chance on it, so this can be potentially a lot higher. But as I said, for a curse, I'm not using Elemental Weakness or Critical Weakness. I'm using Projectile Weakness, which gives me a 54% chance to pierce cursed enemies, and thus it's not the same effect as Chain. I'm not hitting as many targets as I would with Chain, but I have less mana cost and more damage, and I can still hit a lot of targets most of the time. And a nice secondary effect of Projectile Weakness, despite the increased damage that my projectiles do, is that cursed enemies have less evasion. And this is a huge problem for Wanders, and this is why what makes Wander builds so expensive. Usually you start as a Templar, Shadow, or Witch, and what do you don't have in this area of the passive tree? Accuracy. So either you invest a lot of currency into gear that has a lot of accuracy on it, or you get a lot of dex node and accuracy nodes on the passive tree, which is also pretty expensive, or you just use Projectile Weakness, because with this less evasion you can hit monsters quite often. So currently my chance to hit is 77%, and if we look for some monsters here, if I just fire at them, I'm hitting them. Right now I'm hitting them quite consistently. Usually I don't. But if I curse them, first of all, I'm almost always hitting them, and second of all, the damage will increase greatly. So this is really great stuff. I think Projectile Weakness is a really underrated curse for that regard. For single target, I'm currently using Frenzy. This is incredibly ineffective at the moment. Because I'm life-based, I cannot use Blood Rage, but maybe if I have better gear and a little bit more links, I will add a second Power Siphon to use Power Siphon also as a single target. Currently my AoE does more damage as my single target. It's a bit yeah, not optimal. So, but how do you do that? How do you build a low budget Wander, and how can you play it effectively? As you might or might not know, when you're playing an elemental wander, you use Power Siphon and you only level it up until level 5, because from level 6 onwards you gain more increased physical damage, but also the mana cost increases. The mana cost starts out with 15, and as soon as you hit level 6 it goes up from 16 to I don't know what, and then in a low budget build you cannot afford to pay this mana cost, especially with 4 linked support gems. So only a level 5 Power Siphon, which means you're not dealing any physical damage, which for your wand means you don't need physical damage. You can use any wand that has elemental damage on it, and stuff that can benefit your build, like mana regeneration, mana, energy shield even. I don't know, I'm not sure if this can even spawn on a wand. I guess not. Crit chance, crit multi. So this is not a great wand here. This is just a something that I crafted, and that was a lot better than my previous one, so I just kept it. And I'm currently looking for imbued wands to craft better ones than this. And occasionally that works quite out, and works out quite well, and I can show later how I'm doing that. So that's how you do it. Basically Power Siphon level 5, then the support gems, a wand with elemental damage, and then the 2 auras that basically contribute to your damage. Wrath, which gives you fire damage, and Anger, which gives you lightning damage on top of what you have. And this damage will be scaled with weapon elemental damage, the gem itself, and also weapon elemental damage from the passive tree. So that's how you can get your damage up pretty high. And then also Clarity to help with mana regeneration. So even a level 5 Power Siphon sucks your mana dry pretty quickly, especially if you oh damn it, this guy has life leech. Especially if you having frenzy charges up and then a fast attacking wand. You see how the mana is drained here. Pretty nasty stuff. So you need a lot of mana, which is also why you have to go Eldritch Battery. At least I had to do it, I couldn't do it without it. And you need a lot of aura reduction nodes in the passive tree to make this work. So that's the skill tree for this character. As I mentioned, it's the only keystone it has is Eldritch Battery, which helps you to get enough mana to have enough mana regeneration, because there's not many mana regeneration passives that I use. And then in terms of reduced mana reserved, you go for Severity, this one. You grab the influence cluster and you grab the charisma cluster. You need all 3, only then you will be able to cast the 2 60% auras, Anger and Wrath, in addition to a reduced mana gem, of course. But I mentioned earlier, you cannot just start with this and build an elemental wander. You have to level with something else, and which is why I wanted to show you how to get to this point. So this is 113 passive points. This is something you have at level 94, and you can probably start wanding between level 60 and 70 depending on your gear. And until then I suggest to level with something like Searing Bond, Flameblast, Fire Trap, Flame Surge, anything with fire, which is pretty safe to level with. And you do that. You start with a Witch. You can also start with a Templar, which gives you a little bit more mana regeneration, but it takes a little bit longer until you get to the shadow area. And the nice thing about the Witch is that you can expand in both directions of the tree, and the leveling experience is a little bit better in my opinion. So you start off with the Witch, get the mana regeneration and the life nodes, and you travel through the Flask effect nodes, which you would also not do if you start as Templar. And those Flask effect nodes, especially in hardcore, they will be lifesavers. They will affect the life recovery from your life flask. They will affect the effectiveness of granite and resistance flask, so they are just great. 30% increased effect of flask, that's huge. then you go through Deep Wisdom, and next thing you do is you grab Eldritch Battery right away. There's no reason not to do this. The more mana you have, the more mana the faster your mana will regenerate from the Clarity. That's a good thing. Then you travel into the Shadow area and immediately grab the Dexterity node, because at this point you can actually start to level your Dexterity gems, which are Added Cold and Lesser Multiple Projectiles and Projectile Weakness. They require a lot of Dexterity, and you won't have that from your gear at this moment, so grab this node. Then you get more life. Come on, Strength, Life, all good. And then there's a long time where nothing happens, where I just travel down this tree until this point, right next to Critical Mass and to Arcane Blows, which we will pick later in the game. But it's really good to travel here because it's early in the game and you get here quickly. Then we improve the damage a little bit, so we get crit chance, crit chance, crit chance, crit multi, which will help if you're using Flameblast or Flame Surge to get your crits, you get your ignites, and of course later on if we are a Wanderer, then this obviously also helps. Then Coordination, right now it doesn't gain us too much. 3% increased cast speed are nice. Later as a Wanderer we want to have the attack speed, and also we want to have the Dexterity. And Dexterity for now is also good, again, if we have to level our Dexterity gems. The next two nodes depends if you want to grab them. I find they're really nice. So move speed, okay, 4% is not that much, but still. But conditioning with 12% increased maximum life and 20 strength are really worth it, especially early on. So now we have 32 points invested, and now we are in Act 3 normal. And next thing is we go grab Mental Acuity to get mana regen, crit chance, intelligence, and the big life cluster and the mana cluster here. And this is now 38 points spent. We got 6 passive points from the normal quest progression, so we are at level 32. This is probably where you start farming a little bit of dogs, going to Piety, preparing for Dominus, so that's at the end of normal. And here already we have a 100% increased maximum life. We have some crit chance from the tree, so we're pretty good. We have mana regeneration. We are already running Clarity, so we should be clearing packs pretty fast. Next thing, in Cruel, I always hate Cruel because nothing is really happening in terms of damage and defensives, especially with this build, because you will be traveling to the Templar area. So we're going here, this way, going to grab Purity of Flesh. If you're struggling with Dexterity, again, here's this great node, just grab that, so you can continue to level your gems, and again, later it helps with the accuracy. Then we travel down here and grab Holy Strength and the life nodes over here. And instead of going this way to the other life cluster, we're going this way for 2 reasons. First reason is, come on, this is close to Elemental Adaptation and this is close to Overcharge. If we go the outer way, then we would have to spend an extra point to get that. That's pretty bad. Then we can grab the Athleticism cluster over here, and now we are at 64 points, and this is something in the end of Cruel where we actually reach our 192% maximum life, which is a pretty good buffer there. Resistances, yeah, depend a little bit on of your gear, but if you're struggling with that, I recommend to go down here and prepare the shield, block, and defenses cluster, so you get this. And next to that there are 2 really nice nodes with +10 elemental resistances while holding a shield. This gives you +20 all resist, basically. Really good stuff. And this is probably where we start Merciless, or where we're already in Merciless. And we have to slowly transition into wanding. So we're still using Flameblast, Searing Wand, whatever. But now, in order to transition to that, we have to get the aura reduction node. So we would grab the Rarity node here. Come on. We would grab at least this reduced mana reservation node, and then the journey, the long journey to the charisma cluster, which is way down here. There we go. And we are at 80 points spent. And if we completed Merciless already, that's another 6 from the skill tree. So we have from the quest rewards, so we have 18 from the quest rewards. So that's around level 65 approximately. So, and here we're just 4 points away from becoming a wander, and that's power charge, power charge, power charge, arcing blows. And with this, and you get the 7th power charge from helping Illyra and Merciless, you have your 7 power charges, and you can, with your auras, now cast Anger and Wrath, both with Clarity on top of that, and start wanding. And from here, it depends if you want to have more resistances, or more defensive stuff or more offensive stuff. If you want to go for defense, you continue with the block nodes. So there's the phalanx here, there's the additional shield block nodes here that you can get. So we grab those. And we have the additional shield block here, 2 times 2%, and then bulwark with another 4%, which should bring you up to max block. And for the offensive option, you have the weapon elemental cluster here with Catalyze and those 2 nodes. So that's 16 plus 24, that's 40% here. And then you get another 24% here, so you are at 64, plus 6% increased wound damage per power charge with Fusillade. That's with the 7 power charges we have, that's another 40%. Actually, it's more. So you basically, with those 7 nodes, you double your damage. Really good stuff. Static blows, you don't need it because you're using Anger and you're using arcing blows. You will shock everything just like that. So no need to grab that. And if you're at this point, you're pretty close to level 80. What you can do then now is get more crit. So you get the Intense Zeal here. There we go. There's another 20% crit that you can grab here. And then you can increase your damage if you go for Influence, because this gives you another 18% effect of auras you cast, plus those 8% here. This affects Anger and Wrath, so it will boost your damage, and it will also help your Clarity. And you can get another 16% here. And finally, if you want to have more life, you're pretty close to the big Templar life cluster here, Discipline and Training. You can grab all that. You can even grab the life regeneration. It's not wrong to do that. And last thing, yeah, well, that's basically it. You can grab this strength node. This gives you a little bit more life. You have more life available here. You have more crit chance here if you need it. And you also have power charge duration. That's also something that I would recommend to get at least one of those nodes. And of course you have elemental adaptation, which gives you another 2% max resist. And that's it. That's 113 points spent. You're at level 94, and that character should get you through. So here with those 2 auras, I'm at 1100. And if I get my frenzy and power charges up, so 3 frenzy charges, and then of course the power charges, this will take a little bit longer. There's 5, 6. Okay, now I lost my frenzy charges again. 7. So there we are. 7 power charges, 3 frenzy charges, 1500. It's absolute crap DPS compared to what's possible with Elemental Wonders, so I'm really at the beginning of this. But it's a lot of fun. I really like this, playing this character. I really like this transition into a Wander, and I hope I can do maps soon. So that's about it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in game.